I tell you about everything in the world and on the world and above the world and about the world, as well as around the world and through the world and in the world and near the world. I tell you about the winds and the weathers and the oceans and the lands and the continents that have risen and sunk since this little hunk of dirt first whirled off the burning sun. I tell you the men and the women that bathed their eyes in the zigzag lightning and hugged and kissed in the rumbling thunder, and about every Union wheel that ever did run down a Union road or down a Union rail, and every puff of Union smoke that ever did rise up out of a big, high Union smokestack.
There's a better world that's a comin', tell you why. There's a better world that's a comin', tell you why.
Okay, well, Brandon, do you want to start us off with the oil price news? It seems like you were keen to talk about that.
No, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it from the perspective of just like what this means, like within the greater context, because this is just like one number go down thing. Like U.S. oil, I'm seeing in business, U.S. oil prices crashed below $0 a barrel, and global stocks are mixed, and essentially, oil futures are down below $0 a barrel, and this is an 18-year low, and they haven't been like this since oil futures were first introduced in like the in like the 80s. And this is just like, in the greater context of things, this is just like chef's kiss, because the economy was the only thing that the Trump admin had going for itself. And that's just if you believe all the like number pumpers and the journalists and the writers and people who care about this shit. But in the greater context of things, it's like the economy almost takes like a back seat to a lot of different issues. Like if you care about anything other than number go up and number go down, you're going to wonder like what his strategy was to kind of like whip up his support, which was like just shitting on different communities, just shitting on the establishment, and then when he becomes like enmeshed in the establishment, the only thing that he has going for himself is the economy, and this would be like the perfect time to strike for the Dems. But they decided to put up Biden, and now they're going to have to contend with that, because I sure as shit am not going to vote for Biden. There's not a single thing like or an argument that you can make that's going to make me want to vote for him. And in fact, that video,
the harm reduction argument doesn't work on you.
nah, that shit doesn't work on me. And when it comes to fucking Biden, no. Like what? Like I said, don't waste your breath using it on Biden. Just say you're a lib, and then I'll understand. Like, just go at it from that point of view, right? Just don't waste my time. Don't waste your breath. Put the effort in something else. Like, you're not gonna win me over with that shit. And so
Right.
it's just chef's kiss at the moment, because all these things are working out in the favor that certain policies, certain quote unquote radical policies, would be able to get a foothold, but the establishment is crushing any and all sort of effort that would be maybe put into effect. I don't know, but I don't know. So I mean, I don't know. The consolidation of power is behind a guy whose brains are turning into a side dish for Thanksgiving dinner, and it's just looking bad for them, and I have no sympathy whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on the political take, in the sense that Trump's the biggest like thing that he had left was the economy. I 100% agree with that. And I think it's just like, even if it wasn't Trump, it was any other president, an economic downturn is usually like extremely detrimental, if not fatal, to a political campaign, presidential campaign. So I definitely agree with you on that part. The problem is, like you said, is that the opposition party in this instance is completely useless, more or less. You have a half-baked stimulus bill that went out that there's been like a couple news stories that have come out in the past couple of days. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a news story that came out that said like 40 to 60,000 millionaires got a stimulus check of averaging of like $1.6 million or something like that. I don't know if you guys saw
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Meanwhile, the $1,200 checks that were being sent out to everybody was means tested. And a lot of people, including a lot of people within our age group, college students who are still dependents under their parents' taxes, who did not get that check, didn't get anything. So yeah, I don't know. On one hand, I am in the same boat as you in the sense that, like, yeah, number go down. It's fucking hilarious because, like you said, like a lot of the kind of like ruling class of both parties are completely invested in just like the stock, like labeling the stock market as quote unquote the economy, right? Like I think that's what you're getting at more or less. And so like, and on one
Yeah,
hand,
pretty
I'm
much.
like in the same exact boat. I'm like, it's fucking hilarious. Like number go down because it doesn't affect me directly. It doesn't affect like 60% of Americans directly because like 60% of Americans don't even own stock. And then I think like more than 60% of stock is owned by like 1% of people or something like that. I don't know the exact statistic, but it's something around there. So it's like it's very much like a bourgeois affair, the stock market. And so when I see number go down, yes, I think it is fucking hilarious because it doesn't affect me and it doesn't affect most of America. However, the flip side of the coin of this, of course, is that it is an economic indicator at the very least. And when I see the price of oil go into the negatives, if I remember correctly, it's very much not that we haven't like seen this coming for a while now. Like I think it's been kind of obvious for like a month or two, or maybe even longer, that we were going to be heading into some kind of recession. But when I see it get as bad as it has been in the last like week or so, the unemployment number is hitting like uh, in the millions of millions that we haven't seen like ever, and now at the price of oil being in the negatives,
Wait,
like
have we surpassed 30% unemployment yet,
I, I
or?
don't I don't know about the percentage. I just know that like
Uh,
the number of people that are unemployed right now is insanely high. I think it was like 9 million or something. I should probably have these statistics in front of me instead of just pulling them out of the air. But I know it's really, really high, and it's like unprecedented since 2008, obviously. But anyways, so yeah, like number go down is hilarious, but on the other hand, it's just like kind of slowly starting to become a reality that like the next, I don't know, like however long, 2 to 3 years might be like really, really fucking bad. And that's just like not good for everybody in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, number go down is hilarious and I definitely laugh at it. And like I have a couple of chud friends that absolutely think that the stock market is God. And so at their expense I laugh, but at the end of the day, like to me it's like scary too that this is all finally coming together and happening. So
well, I mean, that's why we were always kind of like existing here in this realm outside of the whole like ecosphere of number go up, number go down. I mean, there was some posts that were laughing at what's his name, Ezra Klein or whatever, and Ezra Klein's the editor in chief of Vox, right? He's something like that, something like
yeah,
that, or
he's high
whatever.
up there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, him, Matt Iglesias, who's another fucking technocratic dweeb, but somebody was saying that Ezra Klein was shocked that like banks were, or something were getting like priority treatment or some shit, like banks and
Mhm.
corporations or something like that. And it's just like, dude, haven't you been involved in politics? Like, didn't you make your name out of like the 2008 like crash? Like, wasn't that when Vox started getting like real numbers? Like, you made like your name off of banks getting fucking bailed out and shit like that. Like, you became like a neo-lib progressive icon because of your writings on this shit. Like,
Yeah, I remember,
so
if I remember correctly, I listened to a podcast actually with Urza, and the only reason I listened to it is because Matt Brunig was on the other side. of the interview, and Urza interviewed Matt, and they talked about the left in general and the left's place in politics. And during that interview, Urza Klein basically said that the reason, because Matt basically asked him, well, like, what happened to you? Like, basically, you used to be, way more of a progressive and blah blah blah. And Urza basically said something along the lines of, "Oh, well, no, I still am like a progressive. I think we should have Medicare for all. I think we should have like a Green New Deal, all these other kind of like leftist ideas." And then he says, "But I just don't think that they're possible within the political realm," or whatever his excuse was, or something like that. So
so like as long as he's getting the bag right now,
right,
that shit
exactly.
doesn't
So
matter.
basically he's saying like it's not fiscally responsible for his well-being to advocate for these ideas, because it's not what's acceptable to whatever establishment company that he's writing for at the time, right? Like that's basically what he was saying. And it's just like, so what you're saying is that you sold out. So
Yeah, I mean, there could also be an argument to be made that he was never like for that. He just was, of course, on the grift side of things. Like even we're even seeing this with like grift left people who are like, well, I mean, Bernie dropped out, so I mean, I guess I'll vote for Biden. Like it's so easy to just call that behavior out like super early. Like you know who these people are, you know that they're going to do it, and then when they do that, like you still can't help but like get upset that they're doing it, even though you knew it was going to happen. Like, and
right,
I
I
think
mean
that he was like one of them for like the longest time on the neo-lib progressive side.
all right, and that's of course the other side of the coin of all this, which is to say that I'm not excusing it, but again, it's understandable that the apparatus in which we live in doesn't allow for certain points of view to be like uh, monetizable. I guess I don't know. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. We live within a capitalist system. Certain ideas, certain ventures are just not going to be uh, acceptable enough for like the broader appeal of opinions, so I don't know, they just chose the survivability money route over the moralistic route, I guess. And I guess you can't really blame people for that completely, in my opinion. I don't know, I understand the
You
reasoning
can't
at least.
you can't really blame them, but you can write them down in your death note.
I mean, you could try, definitely, yes.
Yeah. All right, Paul. Let's hear some big takes from you.
Yes. Well, a lot of this oil, what is it? This oil crisis right now that we're seeing right now, the insane low prices. It's all from this price war between um, mainly like Russia and the Saudis. And so they usually do this. The Saudis usually start this during a crisis, which we are seeing right now. Um, they did it a decade ago and all that stuff. So they it's to drive all the competitors out into submission. And so what we're so if we see them going so low, it might just backfire on them, and this will be a definite game changer. Definitely, if the Saudis just all of a sudden lose all their money, it will definitely affect U.S. politics as well, due to our deep connections with the Saudis, and especially with all these companies that deal with oil and deals with U.S. Diplomacy. We could see this shift in funding basically as well. So we can expect some change from this. But, as said, this might not backfire on them. They might drive away all the competitors, Russia.
So you're saying their plan is to tank the price of oil, so you're saying they're doing this on purpose, first of all, is what you're saying.
Yes, because
Okay.
they have playing reserves. They just
Uh-huh.
need to survive on the money they own and the money extra oil they have, they can't really stop pumps really. So like they're just trying to wait until someone's has an economic fuel crisis on their hands, and then they can go back to normal when the crisis is over. This is the same thing that happened a decade ago.
Okay, I mean I mean that's very optimistic of them, I guess, is what I would say. If they're assuming that they can just ride this out, like as if it's going to be over within a couple of weeks or a month or however long that they think it is.
Well,
I
I
mean,
guess it's the premise is like it worked last time, it could work again.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about what happened last time to remark on that, I guess. But
Was this the 70s you're talking about? Like the shit in the 70s, Paul? Or like the last time?
Well, like 2008, they did that.
Oh, yeah, shit.
So they did that. They could
But
do that again.
I'm not gonna lie. Like it seemed like 2000. Like this one's maybe just going to wait until it like rises into a fever pitch. Like it's just in the long con phase. Like because 2008 was just like immediacy. Like I feel like I could pinpoint like a time in my life where shit like was affecting everybody like almost with immediacy. Like all these kids at my school, like the parents all looked like fucking like trash. Everybody was stressed out. The teachers looked like they were going to have like a breakdown. Like my parents were fucking upset too. Like, but this it just feels like it's gonna take a while. Like this one just feels like it's waiting for something. Like it's waiting for the
I don't think so. I
cosmic
don't know.
crash.
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if it's just me or maybe it's all of us. I don't know if we're just like insulated from what's actually happening out there because we're students and we're not like out in the like active, I don't know, workforce or whatever. But I keep seeing these numbers of like unemployment claims and like the amount of people who are already unemployed. And then, on the topic of oil, I think the oil industry employs like 2 million people or something like that. So if this oil crisis continues to be a thing, they're not going to keep all 2 million of those people. So I feel like it already is happening. Like it's like what's the phrase, uh like basically you look day to day and nothing seems to be changed, but then in a week out you look back and everything's different, right? Like I feel like we're in that phase right now where day to day things might not look terribly different, but if that, in a week or a month or however long, whatever time frame you want to use, if you look back to where we were at that point, things are very, very different. So I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with that in the sense that like this is like a delayed uh like crash or whatever. I think it already is happening and has happened, just from like the numbers that I've seen. Unless you were like referring to something different, you're saying like it's gonna get even worse, or what were you trying to say with what you said?
Yeah, I think it's going to get worse. And I mean, I don't think we'll definitively be able to tell like when it's at its worst until like I don't know, Trump does a Bud Dwyer on fucking national TV. Like I don't know, like I don't know when to call it. Like you know what I mean? Like maybe I
I mean,
am too
I think
insulated.
it's safe to say it already is really bad. And like, I don't know, is it like is it the reason why we haven't called it like a recession yet is because it's taboo to do that, right? Because the second that you do call it a recession, then you make things even worse, right? Like that's what the
Yeah, I
entire
mean,
premise of the stock market is based off of, right? Is like faith of how companies are doing and how they're going to do. So the second that you like give up the game and you're like, well, holy shit, everything's falling apart, that's when things actually like really completely fall apart, right? So like
yeah, because I mean,
maybe we're just
all the
lying to
signs are.
ourselves.
I can guarantee you we are because I, I I don't know like maybe the whole thing is just like from up high people are being told like hey pretend like everything is like okay because shit is not okay like my professors are going along with like a script it feels like I don't know it's very weird and for me personally I think that because I have a professor who's doing recordings like pre-recorded lectures even during his pre-recordings he just sounds like fuck this shit, fuck that shit, like this is stupid, like who cares, like blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just like he's cool, but definitely in his videos you could tell he's just like fucking tired of something. Like he doesn't even want to be in the position that he's in right now. With the
Well, I mean, I don't
conditions
think
that he's
anybody
under,
wants to.
like.
I don't know. The whole
But I mean, no, of course not. But what I'm using it as an example is that, like, it seems like some people know more things than others. You know what I mean? Like, or some people are perceiving it as like more serious than it is right now. Like, that's what
I mean,
my thing is.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I perceive it as worse than like what people are letting on to. But like, I've kind of like purposefully, again, like I told you before we started this, like I do feel guilty in a sense, not just because of the school thing, but just because like my life seems very easy right now. Like it's because I'm a student. I wasn't working before, so I didn't have a job to lose, and I was already living off of like student loans and like the grant money and stuff. So like I didn't have an income to lose. But it's like I already have heard stories of people that have lost jobs, people that have had their incomes cut. Like my mom's not working anymore because she was a teacher, and they canceled class. So it's like I already have had some direct experience with it, but like me personally, like I haven't. But it's like I keep reading it in the news that like things are happening, people are losing their jobs, and
I
like
mean, maybe that's the thing is that I don't have like a lot more hours to be like paying attention to like the day to day stuff because I just fucking I'm just on the computer, like taking care of schoolwork for like 16, 17 hours, and then like the little time that I do have, I just don't want to like pull myself to like look at the fucking news. Like,
yeah.
I just want to fucking like either rest or nap or read a book or fucking play video games. I mean,
Well, yeah, that's what I've been doing too. I was gonna say too is like I feel like I'm insulated to this, and it's like before, like I mean, the name of this show is literally called Terminally Online because in normal times we were all terminally online, but in these particular times I feel like I've taken a break from like being online a lot because like I can't, like it was making me way too depressed. Like I just couldn't handle it anymore, and so like I started just not paying as much attention, and it's like because of that I feel like I've missed out on like this collapse that's kind of happening around us, and it's like it doesn't feel like it's real, but like anytime that you look at the numbers it's very much real. So I don't know, it's weird, it's this weird limbo state that I feel like like not even just like us, like I think it's like all students or a lot of students are in,
I mean, it
because
still feels fucking surreal. Like, I wake up and I'm like, dude, what the fuck do I have to do today? Oh yeah, schoolwork again. Like, it just doesn't stop. Like, and it's like I'm just in upper div classes. I'm not in grad school or like, and it feels like I got more work than some of the grad students that I do know who have a lot more responsibilities than I do. But like under these like circumstances and these conditions, like it feels like certain people would definitely not survive. Like even like just right now, and I'm kind of in that flux where it's like if it feels like I'm on a knife's edge where it's like, you know, if just this one situation was different, shit could have gone like so fucking bad, so much more worse than I'm in right now. So
right,
I don't
and
know,
and again,
maybe
like
I
we are the
am.
lucky ones. Like, I
Yeah,
want to
exactly,
reiterate that we are the lucky ones in times like these because we didn't
exactly.
have, and it's like I'm not generalizing all students. Like some students were student workers that lost their jobs on campus, lost their income, and a lot of them had to move off of campus or chose to move off of campus, and so that's extremely disruptive. But like, I feel like we're insanely fucking lucky at the same time during a point like this because like I mean I can speak for us three, I guess. Like we have houses to be in and schoolwork to worry about, and that's it, right? But like I know that other people are struggling way more than me, or like probably you guys as well. And it's like I feel like like because of how like not real this feels, like you were saying, like I feel like the severity of the situation is like being lost on us a little bit, and that's something I've been feeling like really, really guilty about. I don't know.
Jump in, Paul.
I'm fine. Losses, I was online a lot. Online a lot, so it doesn't really affect me and all that stuff. This internet stuff is usually fine with the just the way I usually live. What else? What's another thing that we brought up?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
I don't know, we were just talking about. We kind of got derailed again.
I have
We
no-
originally were talking about
yeah, I mean,
the economic
wait,
collapse,
wait.
and the political impacts of it, of how the Trump campaign
No,
might actually suffer
gonna-
as a result of it, but then that the opposition party is Biden, and that alone is disqualifying in a presidential
Nah, we
race.
were. Wait. We were gonna talk about Warren endorsing Biden.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that. Well, why don't you start us off, since you're the one who want to bring up the topic?
Oh yeah. Warren sucks. You can take over. That's all I have to say. I've been saying it for a while, and everybody that was giving me shit about it, like, they're like eating ass now. So it doesn't really.
I didn't
bother
want
me
her to
anymore.
suck, I guess, is what I'll say. Like, I didn't want her to like turn out to be like the bad guy that she ended up being.
I don't know if I would say that she was a bad guy. I don't know. It depends on your definition of bad guy, I guess. Because I was just telling people she's just a party stooge, like the rest of them. There was
Well, okay, let me put it this way then. Like,
she's different.
do you think that she? Okay, two-part question. Do you think she was the spoiler for the Sanders campaign? Do you think that if she didn't run, that Sanders would have won?
I don't know about one. I don't know about one because, I mean, I don't know. The only precedence that I have is 2016, where she like wasn't running, and that field of candidates I think was even like worse than this field of candidates. So I can't really say like I don't know. I guess the thing is that it wouldn't be as big of an issue as it is voting for Biden to vote for her if she
Right.
became
I
a
mean,
nominee.
I don't think that's not what I'm asking though. I'm asking you, do you think?
I mean, I kind of like. I mean, I like the first part, which is I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, nobody knows for sure, but what's your inclination? Like, what do you like? If you had to place a bet, what would you say? I'm not going to hold you to your word. There's no way we're ever going to find out, anyways.
I would say no, because there were too many fucking oopsies that Bernie like did not take advantage of. That he just completely, like, him or his campaign just completely let go. So, and that can't be blamed on her. So,
Paul, what do you think? Do you think she was the spoiler?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I think because every one person I talked to, like their second choice was Bernie, so it's like it was definitely the spoiler. It's like she worked with way too much with the Biden campaign for a while, and it's way too convenient for Biden for her to be still running and all that stuff. Like Mike Bloomberg was like, was also like I think most of them people that ran after a certain point when it came to like the final 8, I think most of them were already like planning to be spoilers just for Bernie. Because like even Mike Bloomberg's plan had a higher tax rate for Mike Bloomberg. And know what's the only person who's lower? Joe Biden. Like,
yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with Paul. Like, just looking at it from the electoral perspective here, if you go down, so it all like the turning point for the Sanders campaign was Super Tuesday, right? Can we all agree on that?
yeah.
Like that was the point. Like Sanders was very much the front runner before that. He was statistically looked like he was going to get a plurality, if not a majority. It was like 33% to be the majority and like 50% to be the plurality. It was like he was very much the front runner, right, leading up to Super Tuesday. And I'm going to list off right here a couple of states that Joe Biden won and then you tell me that if Elizabeth Warren was not in that race, that Sanders would have won them. Maine,
Yes.
Massachusetts,
Yes.
Minnesota,
Yes.
and Oklahoma.
Yes.
All of those states went to Joe Biden, some of them by relatively small margins. Less margins than what Elizabeth picked up in her percentage of the share, her share percentage. So if Elizabeth Warren is not running in this primary on Super Tuesday, there is pretty much, I mean, I would say under 10% chance that Biden wins any of those 4 states that I mentioned. And if Sanders picks up those 4 states instead of Biden on Super Tuesday, Sanders comes out of Super Tuesday with a big win, like gigantic win. Like he would have won, let's see, he would have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. He would have won 8 out of 12. Like
electorally speaking, like those were big difference makers, right? Or
right, but like the thing is like these primaries, these elections are all about momentum. It's all about momentum, and it's all about media outlook. And if Sanders comes out of Super Tuesday,
then you can't argue that this shit isn't just ideology, like just pure ideology. This shit, it's like that's not, you can't base that off of anything except like pure sociological expectation of people being goaded into believing something.
I mean, that's besides the point, though. We were discussing on whether or not, like, you're probably 100% right. That's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at here, I'm making the electoral argument for Elizabeth Warren not being the spoiler. That is the argument that I'm making.
I know that's your argument. My argument is that like it could have totally either been that or it could have been like some other bullshit. The point is that the establishment was probably likely to like not let it happen. Like if it wasn't her, it would have been somebody else. Like it would have just put somebody else up there.
I understand what you're saying, but at that particular point in time, if she had dropped out, no, hold on, let me finish. If she had dropped out prior to Super Tuesday, which a lot of people are saying that she should have, because she realistically had no path to the nomination, then Sanders would have won those 4 states. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Obviously, it's not 100% lock, but I feel pretty confident, like 80% confidence, that he would have won those 4 states and then gone on to win Super Tuesday as a result. So, like, again, and after Super Tuesday, it was effectively over. Like people were saying for a couple of weeks after Super Tuesday, like the Tuesday after Super Tuesday, where we had a lot of the South vote, and then the Tuesday after that, or I don't remember if it was the Tuesday after that. But anyways, the states following that, you know, a lot of people are saying, "Oh no, Bernie's still in this. Bernie's still in this." No, it was over after Super Tuesday, after he lost. Like, don't let anybody try to convince you otherwise. So if he wins on Super Tuesday, this primary has a very, very different outlook, in my opinion, especially with what's happened since in the whole COVID-19 thing, where Sanders is undoubtedly in a better position to kind of like handle the situation better than Biden has. So I don't disagree with that. And the reason why that's important is because, like I said, the entire purpose of me asking you those 2 questions, you say, and me saying that Elizabeth Warren is a bad person or not, is because if she actively knew that her running was hurting Sanders' chances, and therefore, like and I use quotes here because I don't consider Elizabeth Warren to be part of the left, but part of the quote unquote progressive left, she was doing more to hurt the progressive left by staying in than she would have by dropping out. So in my opinion, that does absolutely make her a bad person. That was the entire premise of my questioning. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to you, I know you don't like electoralism. I get it. Yes, we understand that. But the fact of the matter is that like we still have to deal with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess not anymore. It's fucking over. But
well, I think the thing people get confused with people not seeing electoralism as a useful thing is that like people point to Lenin or whatever, but like he saw the usefulness of electoralism. Like he never saw him like he's got to win the election, change the entire country into socialism in like day 2 or something. But like it is a very useful thing. Like I think the left has gained more than even like Bernie running and all that stuff. But like a lot of people have to see a lot of this is just bourgeois party politics. Like I think we're playing this from the beginning. Like they're like people are saying like what a lot of people got confused. It's like Biden. Like you see, Biden didn't campaign in a lot of Super Tuesday states, and like he's got to lose those states. But plenty of other people did, and when they all dropped out at once, it wasn't just one candidate; it was 6 candidates into one vote. So that's how a lot of it went to that. And so a lot of this bourgeois party politics comes down to that. It's like behind the scenes, we have to like outsmart them if you want to beat them at that. And there's a great alternatives to that, but like if you want to win that, you have to deal with that. And a lot of things that a lot of people like to forget is that like, oh, he won the popular, that means he's the most popular. Like a lot of those votes come from like southern states that we will never win. So it's like, bruh.
Yeah, no, I know.
Those liberals that like think that since Biden has a better vote, is that he'll win. It's like the entire like Ohio, no one's got to vote for Biden in Ohio. I have talked to Ohioans that like will literally vote for anyone else or shoot themselves than vote for Biden. And guess what? They're not even leftists.
Yeah, I respect the troops.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like they're like they're not even leftists. They're like they don't like the establishment, and that's the thing. Like people have to understand, and that's what disconnect between a lot of people. Like I heard in southern states, they don't understand when people say the establishment. They're like, who? Like they see Dems as still the like the good party from like history or whatever. But times have changed. But like, well, even from that, it's just like it's all media circus that they have obtained of the party. And what is it? And a lot of people won't get it. And so that's why I'm a little glad if Trump wins against Biden because people need to learn.
Wait, hypothetically, maybe, hopefully, I don't know. That's
wait, hold up. Like, okay. So the whole Ohio thing, because weren't there like what's it called? Like protesters or whatever for like wanting to go back to work or something?
Mm-hmm.
There was like lockdown protesters or something there.
Right. Yeah, no, that was in the news cycle.
You posted it, right? And
yeah.
My point, like with that, was that like Ohio is one of those like weird states in the whole entire electoral process, because I don't think that there's another state like Ohio that has been as absolutely gutted by like literally every single party that like rolls through there. Like no matter what they stand for, they're going to gut it, and that whole state has been completely dismantled because of like different economic policies starting from like the Reagan era and shit like that. Like completely.
I mean, that's the entire Appalachian
wrecked.
region, right? Like that's that entire area is.
But out of all the states, it's also one of the most vied for in terms of like being voted by. Like it's a bellwether state, dude. Like, and yet it's just fucking gutted. Like those people, like a good portion of that state is still like farmland, just separation. Like whatever you would consider like city and like the separation is drastic, and so I don't know. Like it's such. It just seems like to me like the biggest template for like essentially what could happen to like the whole entire nation if like something like COVID or whatever have you like continues to get worse or whatever. Like so yeah, I don't know. Like Ohio's a weird one to like
and like
use an example, but that is what it is.
Yeah, like I talked to there's this Italian I know on this one place is that he was pretty conservative, but he wasn't like conservative. He wasn't fiscal and all that stuff, but he was like pretty independent. And he was like the biggest supporter. And then he turned to the biggest supporter of Bernie. And then when Bernie dropped out, he like just like hates all of the parties. He will like all that stuff. And I see there in Ohio, the Appalachias, a lot of areas want a change. Like if you go out and talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, I think we should do this," and it's like, "Huh, this fits with more of a socialist form." They're like, "Ew, socialism," but that's when government does a thing. Well, it's like that's the thing. It's like there's a very easy like audience we can get, not just audience, just like people believe in ideals of like worker control, like community stuff. Like it's some people like just straight up ask for communions in the communes, just because there's because those ideas are there, but they just are afraid of the like definition. And I see a lot of people succeed in converting these people by actually talking to them and like not running on this populist train. Because I think that's why I see a lot of people confused when they think they say a word or say an opinion of something. They think that works at convincing someone to go somewhere else. And the best way actually to convince someone something is actually talk to people and learn what you're actually saying. Is not just say a buzzword. That's what I see a lot of people do. It's like materialism, material conditions, a dialect, and all that stuff. They say that, but then to the average person, they're saying like, "What?" And
Well, wasn't that the entire premise behind the Sanders campaign, right? Was to get out there and talk to people like that. He had like the entire grassroots movement was like the idea behind his campaign, right? Have a ton of canvassers go out there, and he had like a base of supporters that would go out and organize like no other campaign had before, and it didn't work. So and that's obviously.
Well, you say it doesn't work, but it does take time. Like Glenn didn't just start politics in a day, then all of a sudden there was a revolution. It took decades. It took many years to start this, and if you start like bruh, like and Rome wasn't built in a day, sort of thing. So like it's just actually get the progress. Like people, you can like laugh on people can just like people can laugh on their high horse once we get to that point of like actually being higher than the conservatives, the what was it, the fiscal conservatives, the Trump tards, all that stuff. When it actually gets to we actually get a advantage in something, and that's what I think see a lot of like actual leftist orbs are failing in. I think too many of them are being filled with like students and stop talking like students.
I 100% agree with this. Why don't we talk about this for a second? Like I think that the approach that the left has taken in organizing is very much like a small tent approach. Is that like I'm assuming that's like what you were saying, right? Like their base is like the base in rhetoric is strictly focusing on like people that already are leftists and like people that claim themselves to be progressives and just organizing those people specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Sanders campaign did try to kind of expand that base a little bit by just tackling like big issues like Medicare for all. But like that was like the only one, right? Like what other policies did he have that actually reaches like a giant group of people? Like just strictly on rhetoric, not policy base, like not from a policy angle, but strictly from rhetoric and like organizing. Like what other policies did he have?
It's just a lot of the common populism was at the time sort of like policies, but like that was more benefit for him. So yeah.
Yeah, but like what was his like top big three things that he was like most famous for? Like Medicare for all is obviously the big one and is a very good one to organize people off of. Like don't get me wrong, but like
anti-establishment.
Green New Deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, is Green New like, is that really something that like that people care about? Like, I think we're overestimating like the not only like the political knowledge of the average person, but also what
Hey
that
man,
person like.
I'm telling you what he rallied behind, dude.
well,
That's what he rallied behind.
Right, and I'm telling you, it wasn't effective. Is my point? Is like the way that they framed it. Not that, again, not from a policy standpoint. I'm not critiquing the policy. I'm solely critiquing the way that they approached handling talking about it, and just calling it the Green New Deal, and then like going on the policy rant of what it would do is not good enough, in my opinion. Like, you have
I
to like.
mean, okay, this goes back to like the whole electorate debate because I believe that the biggest like face of the Green New Deal was AOC, right? Like if it wasn't Sanders, it was we're talking about the electorate's beliefs of what is and isn't like a good leader and what they prefer over. I mean, because we're dealing with obviously non-numerical like ideas that of like what people believe and don't believe in certain governmental like contexts. As I said before, like the most thing that I could ever say is that the electorate care or like brown women. You have AOC being the face of Green New Deal and being involved in the creation of the Green New Deal.
And you're
Fortunately, the
saying that was
electorate.
good, that she was the face of it, and that.
I'm saying that the electorate probably did not like that.
Yeah,
I'm
no, and you'd
saying
be
that
right.
even there are even Dems that don't like her.
Oh no,
Because
absolutely. That's my
so
point, though. This
Yeah.
is my point: is that you have this kind of like the approach to organizing that like the left has right now is. I mean, the Joe Rogan thing is another really fucking good example, right? Like, when the Sanders campaign and like kind of touted that endorsement, there was a fuck ton of backlash from like the online people, right? Like the online, super online leftists, the hardcore left. Oh, Joe Rogan's really bad. Joe Rogan's a misogynist. He's
Wait. When you say
transphobe.
like,
All of which,
wait, when you
all of which
say
can.
that, when you say the left, do you actually mean liberal? Because I
No,
have.
no, like I mean like the left, like the online left, not liberals.
Oh no,
I'll
I haven't seen a single one actually complain that. Wait, like you're saying like he was bad, but they're like this does not change my opinion on anything on
I mean,
Sanders
I
or.
saw. I
Well,
don't know.
like,
I
well,
guess anecdotal, but
if you see, are you seeing like those warm people and calling them left? That doesn't count.
no, I'm talking about Rose Twitter.
yeah,
Is what I'm talking about.
there was actually
well,
legit
that's
like
another
people.
question. Do we count like in betweens of liberal and sock them even as leftists? Because there
Oh,
is.
there were actual like left people that did not like
I
do
mean, for the
not like
record,
Joe
I do.
Rogan
For the
and do
record,
not
I
like
do. But just for the sake of this argument, I'm talking about Rose Twitter, like left. That's. I'll
oh
refer to it as Rose Twitter next time.
They're Rose Twitter. That you see, I have a problem with Rose Twitter. They're like the rad libs. Those who they are. Those are like, hey, if you don't support like my polygamous relationship, you're like a fascist or something.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah. But
They only
for the sake of argument, yes, we could use that. I mean, that's basically those are the people that I'm referring to.
they only
But
vote they only
the
vote for people with a rose emoji next to their name.
Yeah, and that's why there's that problem sort of thing. It's
look,
that
my point is though, like my point is that this kind of rhetoric and then like having like somebody like AOC be the face of these policies, like you were saying, and then use like rhetoric like Green New Deal and like even the word like progressive and like just it is of my opinion and of my view that not only are these things not effective in reaching the people that you need to reach on an electoral scale, but it's also already been proven that it's not good enough to reach people on an electoral scale. Now, and then of course you can have an argument of you know, establishment and like structural issues within electoralism that don't allow these leftist ideas to thrive. There's obviously a conversation there to be had, but at the same time, like, if it didn't work before, why would you continue to go forward with the same strategy? Like, with what DSA is doing for the most part, I don't think they've changed up their strategy at all from what
Yeah.
I've seen. And that's been a critique of a lot of people on the left, is saying, like, Megan Day, again, who I'm not harping on these people saying like they're bad people or anything like that. And frankly, I don't necessarily have a ton of skin in the game with organizing. Like, you guys already know how I feel about organizing for the most part. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like it's not for me specifically. But like, so I'm not calling these people bad. But at the same time, it's like, I think it was you, Brandon, who said this last time, or I don't know if it was you or I read it somewhere else.
Yeah,
But
you're gonna call me out. No,
well, no, it's good. I'm saying I agree with you, which is to say that,
Okay.
like, Megan Day, like, after Bernie lost, right? She
Mhm.
basically just said join DSA, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like,
Of course, yeah.
and do what? Like, you're gonna just continue to use the same exact rhetoric, same exact tactics that you used in the Sanders campaign that didn't work. Like, I'm sorry, but it didn't work. Like, in my opinion, again, we can have the conversation about establishment and structural issues. I think that's completely fair. But like, like,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not interested in doing that.
that's my big. Well, I mean, that's probably because you're like framing DSA as like socialist, which they're most definitively. I'll make the argument that they're definitively not socialist. In fact, they're probably diet socialist, if anything. And I could even make the argument that they're more branding than they are like actually considerably doing things. There are people out there doing work, and I think that they're trying to bridge a gap between like true leftist or that have like no problem going out and like doing action and organizing with the electoralism of like DSA and stuff.
Yeah, again,
And I
like,
mean,
which I said
but
DSA is good
that's
at.
not the
Like, I'm
majority.
not saying
That's not the
I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying, to me, it's more about rhetoric and the way that they approach these issues, not so much as their organizing efforts and their ability to organize people. I think they're great
their
at that. I think they've
dialectics.
shown that. But I think their approach, and again, like, I'm not. It's really hard to talk about these things because it's like it sounds like I'm just bragging on them, bagging on them. Like, I mean, they've done infinitely more than I have to organize people and organize people on the left. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I
But
mean
I'm just saying, like,
they put their like they've done praxis. Yeah, I mean there's
no, way more than I have, like, infinitely more than I have. It's not even close. But I'm just saying, like, as an outsider to somewhat of an outsider to like leftist, like, the leftist rhetoric, the air bubble, that when when I see, like, again, I think the Joe Rogan thing is a very fucking perfect spot on example of, like, that's the audience that you need to fucking reach. And if it means that you lose a little bit on the rhetoric battle in lieu of like gaining strength to your organizing numbers and to your issues, then that's what you have to do to win. If that's what you need to do to win, you do it. And I just feel like a
well, I
lot
mean
of like Rose
you're
Twitter gets so caught
contending
up on the rhetoric that it's just like you're
I mean
closing out.
you do have to contend with the fact that there are people that are going to have moral and ethical problems with that because the whole object of what you're saying is that in competition all's fair and like love and war and shit like that, which would imply that when it comes to competitive things, allying with certain people that you would have a problem with in every other like avenue, make those concessions. Which, again, a lot on the left would take issue with having to side up with certain individuals, even if at the center of things they do agree. Like I'm pretty sure online left and online right would not like group up together to take down white women because they do love bagging on white women on Twitter, but they're not going to come together. Like that's just an example. Like you can like use white women for anything. I can guarantee you both online left and online right for different reasons hate CEOs and shit like that for completely different reasons. But they still both hate CEOs. They're not going to band together to bring them down and then like discourse and dialectic out like what they do next. Like it's not going to happen. And so you're having to contend with people that put morals and ethics and ideology above all or anything else. And so that's what their big problem with Joe
Yep.
Rogan was. So
It's funny.
I mean,
I mean, do you agree? I mean, you gave me analysis, but you didn't give me your opinion.
No, yeah, no. I mean, here's the thing. Like in electoral politics, like yeah, it does become like super laissez-faire, which is my big issue with a lot of things. Me personally, do I have like an issue with like Joe Rogan? Not necessarily because I'm not involved in those dudes, but I mean, if they're looking to win, like if a campaign is looking to win, you're going to need those people that listen to him. And
Exactly.
I can guarantee you today, what Trump retweeted today is going to win over.
Which,
like,
by the way, was
80%
fucking
of those.
hilarious. By the way,
They're
just
going
like,
to win over 80% of those dudes that would have like gone to Bernie if Bernie was still.
I mean, I don't know if you could say 80%, but I get your
Of
point
Joe
is
Rogan
taken. I
viewers?
understand what you're saying. Yes.
No. Of Joe Rogan viewers who are lost between Bernie or Trump, between who they would have voted for. Now that Bernie is out, 80% of those dudes who were leaning more towards Bernie than Trump, but wouldn't have cared for either, are definitely going to go for Trump.
Oh well.
Like that, it takes shit like that. It only takes shit like that. Like seriously, that's all it really takes for some people.
Yeah, and like you forget, like I have to like drive into sometimes people's skulls that you have to remember. It doesn't matter if you get tens of millions of more votes. If you don't get those electoral votes, your vote will not matter. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's like if you get like a whole bunch of more votes in like southern states, that won't matter. If you get a whole bunch more in like the deep red Midwest, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. If you don't get those swing states, Ohio, Florida, it doesn't matter. And when you're talking about Rose Twitter, it's like I remember this. I was talking to this anarchist, and the best way to describe it's like if you're gonna be this esoteric and factual and all that stuff, just become a fascist. You'll love it on that side.
That's a spicy take, my guy. That is a very spicy take. that is way more spicy than anything I've ever said.
You can always rely on Paul to bring the Discord antics.
That is. I mean, his point is interesting, and I'm not gonna say I agree with it, but there's some truth to what he just said for sure.
Yeah, it's not that far. Like the SPD, the Social Democratic Party, did work a lot with the Nazis, and a lot of like the syndicalists worked with the Mussolini, so it's not that far of a fetch.
Yeah, but what were they working towards together? Like
kill the leftists. Unironic.
Yeah.
Like they did do like this leftist organization supports the Trotskyists, hunt them down.
My bad. I forgot. I thought you were talking about like modern day.
Well, they were more likely to work with the conservatives and like maybe on some issues.
Which is, by the way,
because people think like Germany is like this leftist thing. No, it's run by a conservative, and they were just talking about banning burqas just recently.
Who are they talking about? The chick with the bob cut?
No,
what's her name? Merkel?
Yeah,
Merkel. Angela Merkel.
Yeah, like whenever she's like, "We're gonna do this," and everyone's like, "Yay!" It's like
I remember when she was public enemy #1. That was so funny.
Oh yeah.
Especially when she went to like super prestigious schools. Like there's no way she's not interlocked with like the establishment.
Oh yeah, and it's just funny. It's that she's actually has an 8% approval rating right now due to the virus.
I mean, yeah, that's to be expected.
Because that's like she got like a 25% approval rating boost.
I mean, that's a topic for another time, but I would be super interested to talk about because I actually don't know a lot about Merkel. And the other thing, I guess, just very briefly, like within the frame of this conversation, is that you say that she's conservative or to the right. Conservative and to the right in Europe is like left here in the United States.
Yes.
So, like, that context is needed for that particular.
Because you see, there's a difference between like it's pure ideology basically here. It's like, I won't do this because the leftists support this, and like in Europe, it's like if your government doesn't work, you're dead. Like we saw in France, like they want to add a couple of extra cents more to a tax for fuel, but that didn't work well with the rural people. And guess what? They had a riot for months and still.
Well, I mean, the French are so unique in this particular area. Like the French are just like it's the joke, the meme that like the white flag, the French are always surrendering bullshit. Like that is like the furthest thing from the truth when it comes to the French. The French are like the most badass fucking people out there when it comes to this shit. Like you said, like they try to excise a 2% or 2 cent tax on gas, and these guys are out there within minutes, dude, burning shit down and protesting, and yeah, the French are wild, man. We should
Yeah.
all take after the French for
Punching,
sure.
Yeah,
punching police in the
exactly.
face.
Like we have
Hell
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
exactly.
dude.
But see, that's ingrained in their culture. You could never, you could never ever foster something like that here unless things change drastically. Like it's literally ingrained in their culture.
like
It's
you have to like just change the dialogue because like people are saying like, oh, you just push this trash can. You have to think. You have to think about those hard, I mean, like those workers that have to put it back in. It's like, bro, we're ready like to burn down the city, and like, well, the French are like ready to burn down the city. Like we're this country, like we're like responsible for a lot of things outside this world, and not a lot of people are happy. Like we have these walks of like, you know, like the environment and this and that thing. And guess what? It won't matter if you're like your populace is like a weak, no, like anti-gun and like no organization and like very like the peaceful things, like the peaceful marches of the past. Is that's because like they were like afraid they could turn violent, but they're like, wow, these people are so well structured and organized that they didn't do violence, and this should be like well appreciated. Now that's just like the average.
that's again, you're bringing up another like fantastic potential discussion, but like that has to be for
Sweetest
another
of
time.
all takes.
I know that is I mean the efficacy of like the efficacy of social movements, of peaceful social movements in the modern era is definitely something to be discussed, because I tend to agree with Paul a little bit in the sense that it's been normalized so much that the efficacy of it is like not as much as it probably used to be. And um again, I don't know, I come from the position that only material conditions actually shape people's ability to accept change and discuss policy changes and all that kind of stuff. Like if people's lives are not really affected, they're like whatever, then nothing's going to change. And so when it comes to these like protests and whatnot, like it doesn't take a lot out of your day to do something like that. And if it's just become normalized, then it's not that big of a deal when it happens. So I don't necessarily disagree with it. But again, that's a discussion for another time. But I don't know what were we talking about before we went on it. We really got to get a little bit better about keeping things on track here.
Honestly, I brought like it started talking about fucking Warren endorsing Biden, but I think everybody could fucking see that. Wow.
Yeah, again, there's two sides to this shit, right? There's the electoral side of it, and then there's the ideology side to it. And on the electoral side, like this shit was so fucking obvious. Like it was always gonna happen. Same thing with Sanders, which again, like every single time I see on Twitter, Rose Twitter, or leftists that are even further left than Rose Twitter, like getting mad at Sanders, like literally cursing him out and being like, "Fuck Sanders," walking away from Sanders. I don't anything to do with Sanders. Like, first of all, fuck you guys. Sanders has done more to invigorate the left in the United States than any other single person has in like, I don't know, in a history. I don't know. Like you guys tell me. Maybe I'm taking a little bit too far there. But
Maybe
like,
the electoral left.
yeah. Okay, fair. That's fair. But I mean, that's still important for a lot of different reasons. And so for people to just be like toss him aside is just unbelievably like
They probably
ridiculous.
tossed him to the side because their favorite talking head was tossing him. Like, I mean, let's be honest. These people do fucking great man theory worship all the time, and you can catch them doing it. I mean, even people on the left do it and shit. Like, it's sad, and you can't just rely on one dude, which was another issue that I had. DSA is that they whipped up all these numbers, and it's like, all right, what are you gonna do next? Let's see. And now it's just like, let's put all faith in electoral. Let's just do that now. And it's like, you're going the opposite direction. Go the other way. Like you're not changing things by doing the same thing, but worse. Like, what are you gonna do? And yeah, I mean, I don't care. Fucking come at me. I don't give a shit. That was a really, really bad take for Megan Day to do on Twitter, just saying like join DSA. Well, like nothing else.
Well,
Context,
again, like what do you want her to say? Like I don't know, like just as the other side of the coin. Like, that, what else is she supposed to say? She's like super heavily involved in it. She's advocated for it for a long time, and then maybe she does believe that it's like the best way to organize the American left. Like, I don't know, what else did you expect her to say? Like, it doesn't make her a bad person or like detrimental to the left necessarily, but it's like,
All right, Gabe, you don't have to go down the rabbit hole of like, I seriously, sincerely hope she hears this, but
I'm pretty sure she's lesbian, so I don't.
no,
That's
you took it in a different direction. I'm saying that it's a single solitary take. You don't say, okay, do this thing that I'm completely like 100% like, this is my thing. Like I said, it's a branding thing sometimes. Like it has connotations of being rift left shit. Like that's just what I'm
Oh
saying.
god,
Like
I mean, it gets, because it kind of
it comes
is.
off
It
weird.
is. It is.
It comes off weird. That's what I'm saying.
But it's like,
the next
you're
thing
right.
You say, you say
I don't-
something motivational, but you don't put a brand next to that motivation.
but you
Sorry.
can't expect anything
Sorry.
different. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you're right, but at the same time, you realistically can't expect anything different. I'm sorry. Like, the purity,
Hey, I'm just saying that's a bad take in the grand scheme of things. One drop in the take bucket is not going to change the whole entire thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you can't do that to me. Like, I don't have an issue with her. I think she's cool.
Yeah, and she's done
a
more
lot of
work
great
than
stuff.
either one of us put together,
Yes,
like 100%. Like,
but I still have the ability to call out a bad take when
true.
I'm still within my argumentative range. So
Yeah.
that's just what I'm saying. Just, it's not a whole thing where I'm dragging her ass, like trying to take her down and like put the blame on her and like she's the biggest issue. No, it's just one thing in the grand scheme of things. Let's be honest, when it comes to like online things, I think that and Micah were some of the biggest like non-establishment Bernie people on Twitter, and people did look to like some of their stuff for like guidance and shit. So that's what I'm saying, is that like, okay, I'm turning to you, Megan. What do you say? Join DSA? Like, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Okay, well, how about I'll feed you a little bit of a different perspective, and you tell me what you think. Which is to say that, again, kind of going on what else do you expect her to say, but like, to me, after Sanders' loss, it is my feeling that the American left is in shambles. Like, it has been hit into a million pieces.
no.
First of all, do you agree with that? And then two, knowing if you do agree with that, what do you expect the DSA types to say or do otherwise?
No, it's not. It's not in shambles. Like, because
so you don't think so?
One
okay.
portion. No, because it's just looking at it from an electoral perspective. It's not like just because he's done and dusted that it's just going to cease. Hey, everybody, did you get the cease all things left oriented? Bernie has dropped out. It's done. It's dusted. Just join DSA. Like, it's not like that. Like, it's not. It's really not. And you're asking me what I wanted her to say. I can tell you what she shouldn't say, and that's cuck. Like, you just don't make it a brand thing. Don't make it a brand thing. That's all I'm saying.
But the reason why they're making it a brand thing is because I think what their goal is they might want to try and run like a third party. Like, that's what a lot of people within that group want to do.
Then are they looking at themselves as a party now then?
I don't think yet necessarily, or maybe they are. Maybe some people do. But the point is that they're trying to grow some kind of third party movement. Which I don't necessarily agree with, because I don't think a third party in the United States electoral system is possible. Not in this particular instance, in this set of time. Like, maybe in 10 years from now, or in 5 years.
Well, the thing is that the system, like, it's wholly reliant on just two parties. Like, it's built for two parties.
Literally, yes. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just trying to I'm trying to offer a different perspective or explainer as to why they're doing what they're doing. So
Yeah. Anyways, Paul,
Yes.
let's get a sweet
Paul,
take.
give us another spicy take. Give us another hot one, dude.
A sweet and sour take.
What's the topic that we're?
Well,
DSA on the left, like
is
from the
taking
left.
as a whole, and
What is
the efficacy of their rhetoric thus far.
I think DSA is fine supporting because like it's just that just need like just general diversity. The third party thing, it can work on a local level, but if you want to actually get on more of a state or national level, people should be looking more into coalescing, like play outside of the game that this establishment has given you, sort of thing. Like, as I said last podcast, like United Front or just working together, because people need to understand that if we don't work together enough, everything would just fall apart. Because like people, I expect when things get worse, things will change, but people people have to remember how bad it can get. Because like they're preconceived like how bad it can get. It's like, oh, it could just be 2008 again. Like, no, it can get so much worse. It can really get that worse.
Yeah, and I anticipate it to get a lot worse, at least from what I've seen thus far. Which again, like,
Okay.
Like,
Okay,
What?
Paul. I guess we'll stop making other. Jesus.
wait,
you
what?
stop making what?
Stop making fun of other orgs, dude. Stop. Jesus. Oh, he went with the Unity take, dude. What am I supposed to do after a Unity take, dude?
Well, like that's another thing. It's like we have to be open to criticism, but like we're not gonna attack each other, sort of thing. Like,
Then you'll have to draw a line and distinction between critiques and attacks, but that's another conversation. Because I mean, we're at
well, I think critique
About-
is like you can complain about them or you can joke about them, but attack is like more of like you're physically gotta run against this candidate, or you're physically gotta like endorse this other candidate, sort of thing, or just like just purposely hurt the other person. And people need, and like wording could be another argument, as said, but like actually getting, because like a lot of the problems that the left has faced is being fractionalized. So if you fix that, things will go a lot more smoothly.
Okay, so but why do you think it is fractional? Then let's tackle like the root of the problem.
Too much bourgeois. What is it? Comfy life sort of thing. It's like, oh, I can work with this party, and not go on to this other party or unify or coalesce or unify. Sorry.
What about that is specifically bourgeois though?
Because people don't see like they don't see this timer. Basically, they don't feel like there's a rush. Like there's no need to compromise on certain things. And I'm not talking about like compromise to the foundations, but like actually like take a criticism and actually learn and find what isn't good, sort of things. Like those people like what's a good example? Like when it's like when people endorse like Sint, and like because he runs the TYT, but then people found out, oh wait, he's like a horrible boss, basically, like bust unions, blah blah blah, and he still ran because he still had that initial momentum, and the Dems almost lost that area. It's like that. It's like if you actually coalesce and not try to split that party, this movement, it would be a lot better. But it's not like
Wait, are you defending
what?
Are you defending Chunk Yogurt or?
I'm not defending this. I'm not defending him. It's just that I'm using him as an example. I'm trying to say in the way.
Well, no, but I am.
understand.
I'm trying to feed into your example here. You're saying that
Yeah,
because
people-
hold on. it did, like you said, it did turn out that he was doing some like union busting or some shady stuff. I don't know if it was like directly union busting, but he was doing some shady things. And then like he had previously kind of shown some kind of like favor towards the liberal establishment, and he was like kind of favorable towards like Elizabeth Warren in a couple instances. So you're saying, but in my opinion, I'm not an expert on chunk yogurt, but like in my opinion, he still would have been what I call a like left adjacent, at least, candidate to have in Congress. So are you saying that the left should have coalesced, or whatever left movement, instead of canceling him, quote unquote, because he had some kind of like suspicious backgrounds, that they still should have gone forward and supported him and help him win that seat? Is that what you're arguing?
I'm making the argument that like that's what I'm trying to make an example of, like this is what happens when you split a party, but a movement. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to actually do something, you do it from the beginning. Like, if we got served, like, people even just run them like for their area. It's like, there's no progressive movements. I should run, or there should be like, oh, there's a better guy. I should support these better people. With a slightly different leftist view.
So you're talking like Green Party, Socialist Party kind of shit is what you're talking about then?
Sort of, yeah. It can kind of work like that. It could be the PSL, Socialist Alternative, like, because like I get why people don't like trots, okay, but like I'd be willing to vote for a trot and establish them, but I'm not willing to vote for a cent over that sort of thing.
Like, I don't know what a cent is. That's some insider shit.
Cent. How do you
say chunk yogurt.
Chunk yogurt, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather vote for those parties. Like, if the left actually coalesce around those instead of like that.
Doesn't it truly say something when, like, the Bernie campaign is willing to accept the support of Joe Rogan, but like takes their support back for Ching, dude?
Okay, yeah, okay. So I think he asked them to remove it. Is the story that we got? I don't know if that's true or if that's what they ran with, but
yeah, but that dude truly screwed up with that whole airport shit. Like,
what airport shit?
Wasn't he going around like really abusing like airport workers because his flight got fucking delayed?
What?
Like,
I didn't hear about that. I mean, maybe I don't.
I
hear
heard
about
mostly of the union
I saw
stuff,
that video,
and like people were talking.
Oh yeah,
like,
the anti-union shit was pretty fucking bad.
Like,
yeah, the union thing was the most egregious thing.
Yeah, and that's what I really count as what is more hard hitting. It may stuff there could be like worse stuff, but unless it gets popular, it doesn't. I won't really count as like bad for the person. It's like, it's all media. It's all perspective, basically. Yeah, but yeah, just like centralize these, just like educate people and all that stuff, and like not afraid to actually go that extra step, because like people are not afraid, because like you see, back in the day, like, this can apply to now, but back in the day when there was a real threat to the establishment or to the CIA, FBI, anything, they went out and tried to kill you. Well, you see, like, actually see your threat, like, you don't have to kill you now, but like, seeing that pushback from other people at a certain point, you know that you're a threat, sort of thing. And like, just like coalescing these movements was usually the biggest like threat to them. Like,
right.
The Black Panthers, one of their members was like, we need to coalesce the entire working poor class because it's minority centered, but we're not just like, it's not just the black people, it's all of us, sort of thing. And like how they shifted their message from less being of Africans are a colony in the United States, is that the lower class is the established in the the how you say it, being exploited, sort of thing. And like that entire shift in messaging got a lot of people behind like the Black Panther movement of like different races and all this stuff, and got really big, and got so big that they actually like assassinated the guy. Like, the police just went, like, oh, we thought he was gone. No, he was just sleeping. We just shot him in his bed. And like that's when you know when a movement is a threat, and seeing that solidarity is the most threatening thing to them, you have to see solidarity is like the best way to go.
Yep. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree, but I might have a different approach in like okay, because like the reason why a lot of these groups don't coalesce and come together, right, is that they don't agree on certain things, right?
Yeah.
It is of my belief, and it's probably the result of my somewhat privileged background, and that some of these issues are not like as close to home as they are to other people. But it is my belief that you should not only should you, but you should be willing to, but you should realize that you have to give up some leverage on certain issues to take precedence or to take so that other issues can take precedence in actually passing or actually having some kind of movement
Oh, by the way,
coalesce behind them. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about that? Because I know that's a very touchy subject.
Well, I was thinking we were about to end this, so I was about to say my final things on this, and then we can end.
Okay, sure.
Well, and then what was it? Brandon can say his last thing. What was it? My last thing is that like people have to understand like the U.S. if it ever goes down, like a major collapse of society happens, we have to realize a lot of places are just gotta go through a fascist ethno state of like all the people with the gun. This liberal push of anti-gun is just gotta backfire, where the cities are gotta be just easily just taken over from like fascist fascist white nationalists who are gonna just like do pogroms in the streets. So they have to realize they're like leftists have to come together, or this will be the future. So like this can be like an organizing in like just working together in electoralism, working together in mutual aid, working together in a whole bunch of stuff like civil protection, basically. Even like everyone like has night watch sort of thing, and like just have to organize because people have to understand when people say there's a hell that happens, you have to realize hell's just a word to what we perceive. Okay, and that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, that's a little bit too doomer for me. That's a little bit too worst case scenario for me.
It's
but
a choice. That's the biggest question. Which way, Western man?
I mean,
Oh, shit.
all right, Paul, do you have any final closing thoughts on like where the left is now and DSA and rhetoric and all that kind of stuff?
I just say it's open, and people every every day that we don't do something is a wasted movement, as in like starting campaign and working together. But like, I mean, like we don't have to work with like Pol Pot or something, but you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean though. It's like it's literally just take like the actual big tent approach and like not be afraid to maybe change up rhetoric, change up organizing styles, change up who you're targeting, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Brandon, anything?
Yeah, I don't know. If that's a doomer take, then I don't know. I kind of agree with. I definitely think that there's a lot of that need the establishment, Democratic Party, even like sort of like a lot more like lefter, which I guess just like these politicians are aggressive leftists or what.
I'm gonna stop you. You're cutting out in and out. You gotta talk closer to your mic.
Shit, hold up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now. You were just too far away. It was cutting in and out.
Shit. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know. As I was saying, the whole like umbilical cord with the Democratic establishment with like the party, like if there are going to be politicians running on like being progressive, socialist or whatever, they can't be like radically. Like I'm sorry, like that's not left. Like, and they can't call themselves. They're just going to feed to the establishment as well. Like, there definitely is, I guess, like a sea change, but I don't know if it's strong, So I don't know. For me, I don't really pay attention too much to party or electoral politics enough to know a lot of things. I just know what's going on around today with like local politicians, like elections. Just keep an ear to the ground to like my area because I'm preparing for just either big enough collapse to where communities start to work together and kind of somebody who's amicable to your ideas, like organizing things versus I just only paying attention to national and right under your nose. Because I can guarantee you, Gabe, in your area, there's more suspect people. So, I mean, that's my big thing. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you guys are both right when it comes to electoralism as far as its randomness, as far as its like questionability of like it being worth the time. But that being said, it also doesn't mean that I can't think that it's still the like as bad as it is. I still think it's unfortunately important in the United States. And I think that this last cycle with Sanders, who was extremely well liked by the electorate as a whole, and extremely had extremely high favorability ratings, had high name recognition. He like hit all the boxes that you need to hit to win on a national scale, just from like a persona standpoint. But he still lost, and the reason for that, I think, is because of the way that establishment and structural problems aside, which I'm not denying that they're there. I still think he could have won if he had taken a different approach in rhetoric, a different approach in line of attack. So again, the point of this, me saying this, is that I still do think that electoral politics are possible, and that just like the left has to change their approach to handling it, and the way that we organize on the ground is not proven to have worked electorally. But like you said, I think that I don't think that's ever like the intent of DSA necessarily, is to run like national campaigns. They're always like more on the ground, and I still think that has like a lot of value like locally. I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, all you have to do is look at AOC and her winning her district, right? Like if she was able to win that district against like the number 2 in line, basically, I think was my understanding of like the House of Representatives. If she can do that, then other leftists can do the same in their local districts as well. So it's local politics are definitely like easier that like to stage insurrections. And so on that, I definitely agree with you guys for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I think we all agree that whatever the Sanders campaign tried to do, and whatever DSA was trying to do, and just some certain leftists in general were trying to do with this last election cycle, it didn't work. And to continue on the same path is like extremely foolish. I think we all agree on that. So.
All right, and with that, Sweet Paul, take us out.
Okay, that'll be it for today's episode. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye, everybody.
Freedom on the land, on the sea, and in the sky. There's a better world that's a-comin', I'll tell you why. There's a better world that's a-comin', don't you see, see. There's a better world that's a-comin', don't you see. When we'll all be union and we'll all be free. There's a better world that's a-comin', don't you see. There's a better world a-comin', and don't you know, no. There's a better world that's a-comin', don't you know. I'm a union man in a union war, it's a union world I'm fighting for. There's a better world that's a-comin', don't you know. There's a better world that's a-comin', there's a better world that's a-comin', there's a better world that's a-comin', I'll tell you why, don't you see. there's a better world that's coming. Tell you why? Better world that's coming. Tell you why. Out of marching, out of battling, you can hear the chains are rattling. There's a better world that's coming. Tell you why. Now there's a better world that's coming, and there's a better world that's coming, and there's a better world that's coming. I'll tell you why. There's a better world that's coming, and don't you see? Better world that's coming, I'll tell you see. Better world that's coming, and don't you see? Well, there's a better world that's coming, I'll tell you why. Better world that's coming, I'll tell you why. We'll beat 'em on the land, in the sea, and in the sky. There's a better world that's coming, I'll tell you why. Well, there's a better world that's coming, don't you see? Better world that's coming, don't you see? When we'll all be union and we'll all be free, there's a better world that's coming, don't you see? There's a better world that's coming, don't you see? Better world that's coming, don't you see? When we'll all be union and we'll all be free, there's a better world that's coming, don't you see?